Welcome to the Optimal Life podcast. My name is Elliot Barnett, and I'm excited for you to be with me today to talk about something that is going to challenge you a little bit and maybe push a few buttons of yours, but we can't live a better life if we are not willing to look at ourselves a little bit in a way that might challenge us or frustrate us even, but we have to push past that resistance. And the question that we're going to answer and talk about today is, are you living an accidental life? Are you living an accidental life? Are you living a life that you're not even really aware of how you are living and the consequences to your behaviors or how you show up and respond to life? We're going to talk about that, and the punchline is going to be, what you really want is to live with intention. Live an intentional life rather than an accidental life. So we're going to talk about that today. But before I get started, I'm really excited about the update. We pushed out an update for the Optimal Life app. So if you have not downloaded the Optimal Life app, I'd really love it if you could download it from the App Store. I haven't gotten the Android one up yet, but it'll be up there pretty soon. But it is available for iPhones. It is the same program is also on elliottbarnett.com. This is free. It's the Optimal Life program is what I teach others to help others with. So the certifications that I have on elliottbarnett.com in CRT and the rate framework, those are helping coaches and mental health professionals to help others. But what I've done recently is I put the entire program that I teach others for an individual onto the app and onto the website, all for free. So this brings you through a full journey from wherever you are now to living what I would refer to as your optimal life. And it's 100% free, so I'd love it if you guys just download. Give me some feedback on it, because of course it's brand new, so there might be still some bugs on the app, but we're working hard to make sure that it's robust and there for you. But the point of all of this is my passion, and has always been my passion, is to make mental health more affordable, accessible, and effective for everybody. People are struggling a lot, and what I want people to do is to live a better life. Everybody deserves access to a powerful mental health program that is going to move them from wherever they are to living a better life. And insurance companies, mental health professionals, it's all kind of getting in the way of people evolving towards where they want to be. So this is the first step, is getting this program out there for free, as well as the certifications, empowering people like coaches. If you are a coach and you want to learn how to teach others what I teach, the certifications get you there. So head over to elliottbarnett.com, check those out, as well as download the Optimal Life app. Okay, let's get into this together. So are you living an accidental life? And why aren't we living more with intention? By the way, it's not your fault. If you have listened to any of my podcasts or read my articles or watched my videos, you'll understand that we are driven by sort of unseen forces within us. And really, it's the science behind this is pretty clear. But we are an accumulation of our experiences from birth until now. And those experiences have accumulated over time and formed something called your mental core. And I'll get into that and how the mental core drives how we show up and drives us how we show up and respond to life's situations. But you could imagine for a moment that you are just sort of thrown into this world, and you're experiencing this world from early childhood. And I wrote an article recently about the 4 survival strategies. So if you have not checked that article out, or actually also on the previous podcast episode, the 4 survival strategies, the way that you answered these 4 questions drives a lot of how you show up and respond to life and how your mental core is formed. These 4 questions are: how do I stay safe? How do I avoid pain? How do I build connections? And how do I get rewarded? The answer to those 4 questions from early childhood is how you essentially create your mental core and drives how you are today. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't really remember a lot from my early childhood. I mean, most of us don't. I mean, there might be a handful of experiences that come to mind, but the question is, how many experiences did you have from birth to, say, I don't know, 6 years old, 6, 7 years old? I could tell you a lot, but how many do you can you consciously remember right now off the top of your head? Probably very few. But the fact is that all of those experiences influenced your nervous system. It's a conditioning process, actually from even before birth, because the in utero process influences your nervous system development. But let's just start from birth. I mean, even after that, we are thrown into this world, and we start to respond to the world, and the world responds back, and we start to accumulate these experiences. We start to understand, hey, I am interacting with the world, and I'm getting this feedback back from the world, and it's conditioning your nervous system to start to form expectations. So let's go through how these evolve. So we're thrown into the world, we respond to the world responds back, and say you're in your crib and you cry, and somebody comes to console you, or they don't. That's a very different experience for that child, of course. And then as you start to experience the world, you're responding, the world responds back. These form what I call response patterns. So these are individual patterns that are stored as memories. And the patterns, as they get a little bit more robust, you start to form expectations about the world. If I do this, then I expect the world to act a certain way, treat me a certain way, respond in a certain way. So I start to form not only just I'm just not responding back, I'm actually start to have some type of expectations about the world. The expectations form beliefs. What do I believe about this world? How does this world operate? What do I think about this world in general? Of course, from very, very early childhood, they don't really have that awareness yet, but as you get a little bit older, 4, 5, 6 years old, those expectations start to form. So eventually these expectations form beliefs about the world. What do I believe about this world around me? And remember, those 4 questions, those 4 survival questions: how do I stay safe? How do I avoid pain? How do I build connection? And how do I get rewarded? You can imagine those start to form beliefs about the world. If I'm getting abused or have traumatic events, these form these beliefs about how the world operates and how it's going to treat me. Those beliefs start to form the values that I hold for myself and for others, these sort of standards in a way. And then all of this forms principles. But principles are just if-then statements. If this happens, this is how I respond. If that happens, this is what I do. So, and if you think about how this evolved from birth until, like I said, 6, 7, 8, even to 10 and plus, these are an accumulation of experiences that have formed this mental core, the essence of who you are. Just like your physical core is the essence of your physical strength, stability, and balance, your mental core is the essence of your mental strength, stability, and balance. But like we're discovering together here today, is that those accumulations from response patterns to belief, or to expectations, to beliefs, to values, to principles, they're just accumulation of experiences. So I think it starts to become clear why we might be living an accidental life, because if your mental core is driving how you show up in life, which I haven't really demonstrated that yet, so we're going to talk a little bit more about that and how that really works. But if your mental core is what's driving you in your life, and it's just this accumulation of experiences, these beliefs, these values, these attributes, the good and the bad, right? So I might be prone to anger, I might be empathetic and compassionate, but I also might have jealous tendencies, all these different beliefs, values, and attributes that I have within me that are part of my mental core. They're driving me how I show up in life, but they're just this consequence of those experiences from early childhood. So the question becomes, so what do we do about this, right? So, and how does this really work? So let's talk a little bit about how the mental core is leveraged in your life. and how your nervous system leverages it. So again, the response patterns are these memories that are formed, and really your mental core is a way to conceptualize memory. And so all these experiences accumulate into memory, and the mental core is just a way for us to conceptualize the different parts of your memory. But the response patterns are really a representation of the patterns that we've experienced in our lives that your mind pulls from to give you context. So if we're living our life, we always are looking for context into a situation. When we come into an unfamiliar situation, we're always looking for, well, what is familiar that I can pull from so I feel a little bit less anxious about this unfamiliar situation. If you come into a very familiar situation, you're going to have a lot of context because it's familiar to you. So, but let's talk about that a little bit more scientifically. Your mind is a prediction machine. It generates guesses as to what is going to happen next. And these guesses are based on three ingredients. The information from the environment. It pulls all the information from the environment. You don't see with your eyes, smell with your nose, or hear with your ears. These are just collection devices and it's sort of serving up all this data to your nervous system for interpretation. So you become consciously aware of a very small fraction of all the data that is accumulated or that is collected from your collection devices. But that's the first ingredient into a prediction. The second ingredient is the state of the body. It's kind of trying to figure out, well, what is the state of our body right now? Are we hungry? Are we tired? Like, what's going on inside? This has to do with concepts like homeostasis and the body budget, which I've talked about in previous episodes, but just a quick recap is your body likes to stay in a homeostasis. It's kind of a nice medium baseline. And the body budget is a good way to think about this. Just like a monetary budget, you want to be mindful of making withdrawals from your bank. You want to be aware of your balance. If you're getting close to zero, you certainly don't want to go negative. And every time you make a withdrawal, you want to make sure that it's for a good reason. Same thing with the body budget. Your nervous system is always trying to figure out, do I want to make a withdrawal from the body budget for whatever this person wants to do? And how are we doing as far as our homeostasis? Are we hungry? Do I need to get this person to go eat? Are we tired? Do I need to get this person to rest? All these types of things. And so that's the state of the body, and homeostasis is always this way of kind of thinking about the body budget and are we tipping the scales in the wrong direction? The last ingredient, and most importantly, of course, is memory. Of course, right? So we're looking for context. If the nervous system is going to try to figure out a guess as to what's going to happen next, it's going to look for context. Is this a familiar situation? Unfamiliar situations, the prediction's probably going to be less accurate. Guess what? That's the source of stress. When you feel stressed about going into an unfamiliar situation or making changes, which by the way is making a withdrawal from the body budget, throwing yourself out of homeostasis. If you're trying to make changes, I want to do something different, I want to learn something. The difference between an accurate prediction and a prediction error is learning. If the guess was wrong, that means you have an opportunity to learn something. Unfortunately, the nervous system does not like withdrawals from the body budget necessarily, throws it out of the homeostasis. That's why we feel resistance to change or even learning or trying to move forward in our lives. I do an extensive talk in the Optimal Life program about the challenge of change and how it is very difficult for us to overcome the challenge of change and move past this internal resistance. And that's part of the journey of the Optimal Life program, is to really learn how to push past that resistance and get to the other side of it. Okay, so those are the three ingredients to a prediction. The information from the environment, the information from the body, and the information from memory. But again, this is where the mental core comes in, and the response patterns. It's going to look for the most relevant and sort of the response patterns that are most prevalent. which those patterns have been reinforced from the parts of the mental core that are most prevalent. So what do you lead with as far as your beliefs and values? You might have a lot of beliefs and values and attributes, but you might lead with some more than others. You might have a compassionate instinct within you, but at times you have such a strong jealous attribute within you that it might override that empathetic or compassionate instinct that you have within you. So there's kind of a push-pull inside of you between these different parts of your mental core. Part of the Optimal Life program is to discover that dissonance, this tension within you between the different parts of your mental core. And by the way, that is one of the sources of a lot of mental health challenges, is that tension, that dissonance inside of you, this push-pull between these opposing forces within your mental core. But, so your prediction is based on the information from the environment, the state of the body, the information from memory. This is conceptualized inside your mental core. So this forms a cycle of, in a sense, the prediction is generated. The prediction makes its appearance to your conscious awareness through the sensations of the body. So we label those as, we have feelings, those are sensations. We label those with words, these emotion words. We say things like, I feel stress, but really the stress is the emotional word we apply to the sensation of the body. We could say, I'm excited, right? That's just a different label to the same chemical response of the body. So the nervous system is communicating to us through these sensations of the body that we label with words, these emotion words. And then thoughts, these narratives that show up, the thought stream that makes its appearance. So those sensations of the body and those thoughts then drive us to respond to life as likely as we have before. Then we go back to step one, next prediction. That prediction makes its appearance to our conscious awareness. It drives a response similar to the way we responded before. Wash, rinse, repeat, right? So these form what I refer to as predictive response cycles. These are the cycles that drive us in our life. And the culmination, the journey that you go through in the Optimal Life program and what I teach in the rate framework and CRT trainings and certification is to disrupt these predictive response cycles. That's the entire point. The culmination of the journey is to figure out how to disrupt these predictive response cycles. If you want different results, you have to influence one or all of those three ingredients that form the prediction in the first place. You have three options. You have the environment that you're in. You have the state of your body, right? You can influence the state of your body. You can eat right. You can get healthy. You can sleep well. You can get around better associations. You can have better experiences around better people. That changes the state of the body and the environment. And so you can change the environment, your state of your body, but you can also get better memories, meaning that you could start to replace the original response patterns with better response patterns through better response, and then eventually create better response cycles. So we start to influence our memory by disrupting predictive response cycles, replacing these negative response patterns with better response patterns, better memories. And that's the journey that you go through in the Optimal Life. But how do we do that? So the challenge here is the concept of the introspection illusion. Unfortunately, we just talked about the fact that your mental core is just an accumulation over time. So we're not mindfully aware of all the ingredients in our mental core, our beliefs, our values, our attributes, the good, bad, and the indifferent. That's the challenge. It's called the introspection illusion. It's a very well documented phenomenon in psychology. And by the way, this is one of the reasons that talk therapy is really difficult, because a psychologist might ask you, tell me a little bit about yourself. That's actually a very difficult question to answer. So overcoming the introspection illusion is incredibly important. You can't fix what you're not aware of. If you don't know yourself really well, then how do you become who you really want to be if you don't know who you are now? So, and most of my early research in that formed cognitive response therapy was based on overcoming the introspection illusion. I discovered through the research projects techniques and strategies that built what I call the language association and categorization system. It's a way of categorizing and associating language in a very specific way to help somebody discover who they truly are and overcome the introspection illusion. And what that means is you're getting clarity about the parts of your mental core that drive how you show up in life. So that's a major part of a journey of mental health and becoming mentally stronger, is to first learn about yourself, overcome the introspection illusion that's holding you back now. So understanding the source of these predictions that are being generated, which are the memories that you've accumulated over time, which has formed this mental core, these beliefs and values and attributes. Understanding how to get clarity about your mental core then allows you to start recognizing the patterns that are there and the cycles that you're living in. So if you're not getting the results that you want in your life, it is because you are living these predictive response cycles that you haven't mindfully intervened in and changed and disrupted. And that's why we are living an accidental life. So many of us are living an accidental life is because we are not aware of what's in our mental core. We are not aware of these predictive response cycles. And we live as just a byproduct or a consequence of the accumulation of our experiences, much of which we're not aware of, and we're not being mindful about the parts of our mental core that are driving us in our lives. We're not aware of what's in there. So the first stop on your journey of living a better life is to overcome the introspection illusion, become more aware of your mental core, and start to intentionally design the parts of your mental core you want to keep, you want to reinforce, you want to replace, maybe things that you don't even have in there that you want as an opportunity to put in your mental core. So there's all these opportunities to start intentionally designing. You didn't sit down at 6 years old with pen and paper and intentionally write out your beliefs, your values, your principles that you want to live by, which you hold yourself and others to. I'm guessing that probably didn't happen. But that doesn't mean you can't do it now and actually start to figure out, how do I want to show up in life? What ingredients do I need in my mental core in order to live the life that I want, in order to show up with intention and the way that I want to interact with people? How do I disrupt the current predictive response cycles and start to replace these response patterns that are driving these memories with something that's more positive? How do I get my body right so that the response state, or the state of the body, I call it the response state of my research, the state of my body is better. So these predictions are based on a healthier state of the body. How do I get around a better environment or a better people? I put myself in situations that maximize my opportunity to respond better to situations. In the near term, that's really important because you might not have the fortitude within you to consistently respond in a positive way, reinforcing more positive patterns. So you might have to be more intentional about setting the environment up in a way that's better for you. Getting better associations, getting around more positive environments can help you to start to influence those predictions. And then it becomes easier and easier. It becomes less important. You can face adversity and challenges and persevere through them because you have influenced the parts of your mental core so that the predictions are going to be positive regardless of the situation that you're in. So you can put yourself in more stressful, what might have been stressful before, it's going to be less stressful. You can get around people that might have influenced you in a negative way, but not anymore because you're stronger, you have more internal fortitude than you did before. So all these great opportunities for you to start to head yourself in the right direction. I hope that helps. And I do genuinely believe that if we go through the process of self-discovery, we go through a program like the Optimal Life program, we can stop living an accidental life. We can start living with intention, start living the life that we all want to live, and start living an optimal life. Okay, I'll see you guys next time.